All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahalia from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwat who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwat is sisters. Shalom means peace. And Yashar Allah is Israel in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. I want to go into a lesson through the spirit on this term, main character syndrome, all right, and how it applies to today. You know, the precepts that, we have in the New Testament concerning ego, vainglory, and I want to just touch the subject through the spirit. All right, so I'll just start with the definition before I expound. All right, this is main character syndrome. It says when someone thinks they are the main character of their life, usually comes with a side of individuality complex, quirky style, and a self-centered point of view. All right, and again, I'll say this, right? We are sons of God. We're princes of God. Every man through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemal Shah of Israel. You have a family, you become the head of the household. So in essence, you do become a sort of main character in your own life story. However, all right, when it comes to the ministry, when it comes to the body, you're not the main character. Likewise, all right, when you think about the nations, when they enlist into an army, they don't enlist as the main character of the movie. When they go to fight wars, they don't enlist as the main character of the movie. They don't view themselves as a main character. They view themselves as contributing to their nation's well-being. Now, because as a nation, we've been destroyed, our people have this low self-esteem that plays out by their desire to be validated. All right. So let's start here. Let's grab a precept before I continue, Lord willing. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 4. Now there are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. And there are differences, and there are differences of administrations, but the same Lord. All right, now, this is important through the Spirit because, again, the Lord is rebuilding the nation of Israel, beginning with the elect, because the elect are the only ones that are going to be delivered on this side. Now, concerning the laborers, concerning, Yahweh Shai being the chief cornerstone, Yahweh Shai truly is the main character, if you will. All right, and the elect are the supporting cast, if you will. Now, eventually all Israel will be saved. But right now we've been called to endure hardness as a good soldier. All right. When you think about soldiers, they enlist and they have different gifts. Some of them become engineers. Some of them become chefs. Some of them become machine gunners. Some of them become snipers. Some of them become captains. But they're all moving toward the same goal. And in order for that to work, all of those individuals can't look at themselves as the main character of the whole story. All right. And this is why you see an uptick in main character syndrome, chiefly in the West. All right. Because, again, we live in a society, all right, where they push individuality. And that's very detrimental to us as a people, because as a people, we've been destroyed. So you don't have Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that are looking for the well-being of us as a nation of people, because they're so caught up in trying to be the main character of the movie, so to speak. So they're seeking this validation by becoming a rapper or, an athlete, and it doesn't benefit the nation as a whole, but in their mind it does, because that's main character syndrome playing out. All right, it's 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. And that's what you see in the world, all right, particularly in the West, all right. And the West dominates the narrative of the planet at this point. And social media gives people this vehicle to basically make themselves an idol. This is why main character syndrome, as it's termed, is so popular in the mindset of most people, because they have so many platforms to push that narrative. They have the validation of getting likes and comments, and because of that, they believe they're actually the main character of the entire movie. They think they're the main character in everybody else's life and theirs. All right. And when we come into this truth through the spirit, the old man dieth. And a part of that is this desire to be validated according to your ego. Now, your Elder Yashawamba says this often. Every man wants to be appreciated for what they do and what they bring, to the table. But then in this world that's been hijacked by Jake, who's really just seeking ego validation. Because in the kingdom, as the scriptures say, our seed shall be known amongst the Gentiles, meaning as a nation of people, we will get a commonwealth, a common glory that comes with us as a people. Now, within that, there will be rank. All right, the elect will be have more authority. Yet, in this race through the spirit, there are diversities of gifts. There are different administrations, but there's one Lord. And we've been called through the spirit to bring our gifts to push one common goal through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah. And that's to labor and serve Yahweh Shema Shah to the best of our ability. And this is why the body, if you will, looks completely different in character than the rest of the world. Because 2/3 of our people are chasing their own glory at this point. They're not here to serve Yahweh Shema Shah. They're here to chase their own ambitions and their own glory. And ultimately, it's going to end up in their detriment. All right, now let's go here. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians 12. And it's beautiful, right? Because Paul put this in the scriptures, was through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah. But Paul's writing this letter, and you can tell that these type of issues were occurring during that time, where he had to break it down into administrations in one Lord, or many members in one body. You don't see your thumb fighting with your pinky, because they're not the pinky. They're all, your body's a machine full of different parts, but it's all pushing one common goal. And, and that's keeping you alive through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Likewise, this ministry is similar, where we're all pushing a common goal according to our measure through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, because within the body, there are diversities of gifts. All right, so let's go to this. That's 1 Corinthians 12:6. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same power which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit of the word of wisdom, to another the word of knowledge by the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the same Spirit, to another the working of miracles, to another prophecy, to another discerning of spirits, to another diverse kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. But all these worketh that one and the selfsame Spirit, dividing to every man severally as he will. And this is why it's beautiful through the Spirit, because again, in the ministry, you have diversities of gifts, and it makes the body compatible. Everything efficiently works because, again, you have different brothers with different gifts that cater, and complement, and that's how the Lord made it through the Spirit. And as a nation of people, it's only seen in the elect with this understanding that it's not about you being the main character. This ain't about you. Lord willing, we're part of that number. When we're delivered, every man will be rewarded according to their works, or according to the mercy of the Lord. Yet, we're in the middle of a war in the spiritual sense. And a part of that is that you have to kill the ego. When you think about these wars that men had in the ancient world and in the modern day, for those men to have the will to fight, they can't see themselves as the main character. If they did, they wouldn't put themselves in danger, because they would view themselves as the main character in everybody's movie. But they're willing to lay down their life because they are fighting for a greater cause. That's something that is lost in our nation, because we've been destroyed and we've been brought to a lower state. And that's why 2/3 of our people aren't searching to fight for the well-being of us as a nation of people. They're searching out for their own glory, to build up their own house, to receive praise among men. Whereas, Lord willing, we be a part of that number. The elect are set up to serve Yahweh Shema Shai, all right? To be selfless in that way, where it's not about us. It's not about us as a personal situation. It's about us pushing the glory of Yahweh Shema Shai. Just like being enlisted in an army. If you were a medic, you're not the main character of the movie. You're a medic in some division, in some region, pushing and fighting so that the war will be won. And you know what? I think about this a lot, right? When you compare it to war, think about how these Edomites after World War II, how they came home and how they were treated. It didn't matter if they were a cook. It didn't matter if they were a medic. All that mattered was that they fought. But again, we've been brought to such a lower state that Jake doesn't see the bigger picture. And without a vision, our people perish. All right. Now, let me see. I'm looking for something in particular. So this is, I believe it's in Luke. Lord willing. Yep, the Wadi Abba Shemal Shah. This is Luke 16:15. And he said unto them, Ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but Yahweh Shemal Shai knoweth your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of Yahweh Shemal Shai. And this is why, the Lord has refrained us from that. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. Brothers say this oftentimes, that the Lord saved us from ourselves, because outside of this truth, we would have been chasing our own personal ambitions. We would have been chasing vainglory, because that's exactly what it is. It doesn't profit. All these things are going to melt with fervent heat. And if you're not serving the Lord, there's no profit in that. There's no profit in any of the work that you've done on this side if you're not serving the Lord, because again, all of the things here are going to melt with fervent heat. The fashion of this world is going to pass away. The world we live in now is a world driven by ego. The scriptures say lovers of their own selves. But the remnant are going to fight for the greater good. The remnant have a vision. Lord willing, we be a part of that number of the overall picture. And they understand that they're not the main character in the overall picture. Yahweh Shai is. And it's really a scarcity mindset when you think about it through the spirit, because again, the validation of men, of people, is really vain. What do they know anyway? What profit do you have in it? And this is why, the Lord has allowed us to think and walk in the spirit, so that we don't fulfill a lust of the flesh, because that's really just a lust of the flesh. The desire to be esteemed in this world, but knowing this world is going to pass away. But Lord willing, we're a part of that number. We've been called for a greater purpose, a higher calling. Whatever measure we have, because again, I make the comparison to the Edomites that even Jake, that came back from World War II. It didn't matter what they did in the war as long as they were fighting in the war. And when they were in the middle of the war, best believe they weren't looking at themselves as the main character in the whole movie. They weren't fighting the war thinking Winston Churchill knows my name. No, they were fighting to survive, and they were doing the best that they could to push the overall agenda. Likewise, that's what we're called to do through the Spirit, to serve Yahweh Shema Shai through laboring with whatever gift the Lord has given us. All right, this is Galatians 5:25. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. Now in the NLT, it says, let us not become conceited or provoke one another or be jealous of one another. And this reminds me of black culture in a nutshell. It's just a big competition, a big ego battle amongst a bunch of poor people. who's so busy fighting against each other to get some kind of glory and have somebody be jealous of them that look just like them, that they don't see the bigger picture. That's why the Lord told us to endure hardness as a good soldier. A good soldier is not worrying about being on a billboard. They're worrying about serving the one that called them. All right. As a matter of fact, since I mentioned it so many times, Lord willing, I want to grab it. So this is Second Timothy chapter 2 and verse 3. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. Let's go to the NLT and read this. It says, endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. Yeah, and what's a part of civilian life? The ego battle, the main character syndrome playing out all over the internet, whether it's on Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. It's the main character syndrome. And the Lord called us away from that because, again, now all of that is vain because of how this thing is going to play out. Nobody's going to remember guys like Jordan and Jay-Z. They're not going to be renowned like they are in this society because that glory is vain. And Lord willing, we're a part of that number. The Lord has saved us from ourselves because, again, if we were not in this truth, if the Lord didn't open up our eyes, we would be chasing like-minded, likewise things. But the Lord kept us from that path because ultimately that's a path that leadeth unto death. Though it seemeth right in most people's eyes, chasing your own glory, chasing your own, bragging about though it seems like it seems right because most people are into it, doesn't make it right. And we understand, according to prophecy, the fashion of this world is about to completely change. And knowing that through the Spirit, we move differently. We are members of one body. All right, as a matter of fact, I want to go there. So this is Romans chapter 12 and verse 4. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we being many are one body in Hamashiach, and every one members one of another, having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us. Rather prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Because everything that you do through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shah is for the greater good. Whatever measure the Lord is giving you. They can do nothing against the truth. So to have a office where you are contributing to the truth is a high calling, no matter what your measure is. And that's not to become proud or conceited, but it's to be grateful and appreciative that the Lord had enough mercy upon you, had extreme mercy upon you to call you to do the work. And while we're not the main character of the overall movie, you have one of the best seats in the house if the Lord is giving you this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in the earth today. Just like when these armies fight against each other, when they get the victory, the army is looked at as the ones who get the victory under their commander. And when they come home from that victory, they're treated like royalty. And it doesn't matter what they did in the war. They don't look at them and imagine when them Edomites came back from World War II and they got off the ship and people were hugging them. And did they stop and say, oh, he was a cook? Next. Nah. They looked at them as the winning team. Lord willing, we're a part of that number. The elect under Yahweh Shai are the winning team. But in order for that to be made true, we have to endure unto the end. And in order to endure, the ego has to die. And that's why the old man, we die every day concerning the old man and the old ways and the things we've learned of this world to put on a new man. All right. Matter of fact, Lord willing. Call a lawyer. So this is Ephesians chapter 4. And I'll start at 22. That he put off concerning the former conversation. Man, let me read it in NLT, Lord willing. Ephesians 4 and 22. Throw off your old sinful nature and your former way of life, which is corrupted by lust and deception. Think about that. And it reminds me of social media in a nutshell. It's all lust and deception. People putting forth something that they aren't in reality. And it's all for validation. And that's why it says put off that former man. Because that's all we knew as Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. That's all we grew up knowing. Was chasing this vain glory, keeping up with the Joneses. The Lord severed us from that. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. Verse 23. Instead, let the Spirit renew your thoughts and attitudes. Put on your new nature, created to be like Yahweh Shema Shai, truly righteous and holy. And call like Yahweh Shema Shai. Think about that. Like the Lord put the Spirit on us to understand that there's a bigger picture. And whether our measure is great or small, it's our duty, it's our responsibility to contribute to that. And the other nations do that on a lower level. When you study your whole life to be a nuclear scientist, you're not studying to be famous. When you enlist in the military as a soldier, concerning these other nations, they're not looking to be the main character in the whole movie. Now, maybe they believe they're the main character in their own walk, and to a degree they are. But in order for you to go into some of these offices that keep the world going, your ego has to be in check. And our people, but because our people have been brought to such a lower state, they look for anything that'll give them self-esteem and confidence, which is why you see the main character syndrome run rampant amongst our people. And it's a blessing through the Spirit that the Lord has the remnant who, in the midst of a world where it's okay to glorify yourself, the Lord has placed the Spirit on the remnant to deny themselves in this society. All right, this is Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 9. Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. And that's beautiful because the remnant, are completely different. I would say, speaking as a man, that the elect and 2/3 of our people are pretty much two different nations of people when you look at the characteristics. All right, the laborers of Yahweh Shema Shai, Lord willing, we be a part of that number, are laboring for the bigger picture. Not for likes, comments, and subscribers, but to serve Yahweh Shema Shai in truth and in sincerity. Whereas when you look at the rest of our people, they're all chasing their own sealed houses. They're all involved in keeping up with this vain competition. And it's all just deception anyway, because when you look at the numbers, our people are poor, whether they're willing to admit it or not. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying. Matter of fact, I got one more. All right, I'll read this real quick. This is Romans chapter 12. And I'm going to jump down. You know what? Let me get this. I'm going to end it with 1 Corinthians 12. And I'm going to go down toward the end. Because listen how Paul concludes it. All right, this 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 17. You know what? Let me start up. Verse 14, 1 Corinthians 12 and 14. For the body is not one member, but many. If the foot shall say, because I am not the hand, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? And if the ear shall say, because I am not the eye, I am not of the body, is it therefore not of the body? If the whole body were an eye, where were the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where were the smelling? But now hath Yahweh Shema Shai set the members, every one of them in the body, as it hath pleased him. This is beautiful. All right, because Lord willing, No matter what part of the body you are, it's a blessing to be in the body. Lord willing. And that's a mindset that can only come from Yahweh Shema Shai, because again, our people grow up with main character syndrome. All right, and I want to read that definition one more time. All right, it says main character syndrome. This is from urbandictionary.com. It says when someone thinks that they are the main character of their life, usually comes with a side of individuality complex. Salakia. It says usually comes with a side of individuality, complex, quirky style, and a self-centered point of view. Now I want to go down to one of the points that was made on here. This is the one that really hit. All right. It says main character syndrome, another form of narcissism in which the person, usually popular, believes they are the main character in their life and in everyone else's too. And that's what you see run rampant in the world. I'm going to continue. It says they usually believe that their opinions are correct and important, and usually get involved in other people's lives and try to influence said people into making choices and outcomes that revolve around them to further push the delusion that they are more important and are the main character of life. You notice how I ended it, life, not their life, but life in general. Because again, we are sons of God. So there is a certain degree, when it concerns your family, in your walk, you are the main character in your walk, so to speak. But there's a complete difference from that and the idea that you're the main character in everybody else's life as well. And we've been, Lord willing, we're a part of that number. We've been severed from that. And that's a part of that old man dying, because again, this is common in our culture. Well, I'm not even going to say our culture, but it's common in so-called black culture. All right. So Lord willing, this was edifying with that. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And a sincere salutation to all you Akim who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.